This is 3TV News at 9. I'm Marissa Wingate. Mass chaos as a gunman opens fire at a shopping center in Tucson, killing 6 and wounding 13 others. And tonight we've learned he may not have acted alone, raising questions about a second suspect. Though gravely wounded, Arizona Congresswoman Gabrielle Giffords is still alive tonight. She was shot in the head but underwent surgery and remains in critical condition. Authorities have identified the gunman as 22-year-old Jared Loeffner. He was taken into custody shortly after the shooting. We've been following this developing story all day with complete live team coverage. Our Jared Dillingham is at the state capitol where a vigil just wrapped up. But first we join Tyler Baldwin in Tucson. Tyler.
Well, today Representative Gabrielle Giffords was holding Congress on the Corner. It's a very popular event for the Congresswoman. It's something she's been doing for years and something she's been doing on a regular basis. She makes herself very accessible, gets one-on-one contact with her constituents. Well, today a murderous gunman used that accessibility, used that political event to attack. When the mass murderer fired those deadly gunshots into the crowd, Alex Valek was there, just a few feet from U.S. Representative Gabrielle Giffords.
I was about 3 feet from her. I'm just lucky not to be in the line of fire. It was shaken to my core, and all I can say is that I'm lucky I got out of there in time.
Valek, a college student who has worked on the Congresswoman's campaigns in the past, volunteered to help at this political event. He even talked to the suspected shooter only moments before the massacre.
He wanted to see the Congresswoman, and he said, "Is she there?" And just like any other constituent, I said, yeah, she's meeting with other people right now, but she's happy to talk to you if you just give her 15, 20 minutes.
Although the gunman's list of victims is long, 12 injured and 6 dead, Alex Valek knows the shooter had one person targeted.
It was clear who he was going for. He was going for the Congresswoman.
It's weird because yesterday this was just a Safeway, and now it's a really dark part of history.
As the multiple agencies continued their investigation, the people who gathered outside the crime tape began to make their own conclusions.
And I hope it's not just a Republican-Democrat thing, because Gabrielle deserves better than that.
It's unconscionable. I mean, it really hasn't set in yet. The long-term implications are going to play themselves out. But the way I see things now, it's nothing short of tragic.
And of course, our thoughts and prayers go out to Representative Gabrielle Giffords and her family. But remember, there are 19 victims here, 6 dead. Among the 6 that were killed in this horrible, tragic shooting is a 9-year-old child and a federal judge. Reporting live in Tucson, Tyler Baldwin, 3TV.
Thank you, Tyler. A bit more now about some of the other victims in today's massacre. Among those who lost their lives today was federal judge John Roll. Roll was named to the U.S. District Court for Arizona by President George Bush in 1991. He became chief judge of the court in 2006. President Barack Obama held Roll for his nearly 40 years of service as a judge. Roll was 63 years old. The youngest victim was a 9-year-old girl. She has been identified as Christina Taylor Green. She was at today's event with her family. Her uncle describes her as just a typical kid. Another victim who was fatally injured was Gabe Zimmerman. Zimmerman was a staffer for Congresswoman Giffords. Several of her staffers were at today's events. 2 of those staffers were apparently among those hurt, Pam Simon and Ron Barber. Many questions remain tonight into whether or not the gunman acted alone during today's massive shooting spree. The investigation is in the hands of the Pima County Sheriff's Department. Our Karina Sun is following that part of the story. Karina.
Yeah, Marissa, that's really the big news coming out of tonight's press conference, that there's a second person. He is being called a person of interest this evening. Now, officials are still not confirming the shooter's identity. We do know that he is in custody at the Pima County Sheriff's Department. We're being told that he is not cooperating with authorities.
In my 50-some years, I have never been so shocked in my life as the events that happened today.
Pima County Sheriff Clarence Dupnick, who is also a close friend of Representative Gabrielle Giffords, confirmed that 19 people were shot when the gunman, believed to be 22-year-old Jared Loeffner, ran into the crowd and started shooting a semi-automatic weapon. 5 people died at the scene. Another died at the hospital.
We're not convinced that he acted alone. There's some reason to believe that he came to this location with another individual.
Officials only saying the person of interest is a man in his 50s. They also say the suspect, who has a criminal past, had more ammunition in his gun and could have wounded or killed more people if it weren't for two men who tackled him to the ground. Officials say the suspect may have planned to kill himself, but they did not address whether he had a suicide note. As far as Congresswoman Giffords, her condition is still critical.
According to the trauma chief, she has a very severe wound, but he's cautiously optimistic that there is a possibility she could survive.
Officials not confirming the identities of the victims, saying they still have to notify some of the families of the mass shooting. And with the latest information came a plea from Dupnik, who was emotional and heated at times.
And I think it's time as a country that we need to do a little soul searching, because I think it's the vitriolic rhetoric that we hear day in and day out from people in the radio business and some people in the TV business, and what we see on TV and how our youngsters are being raised, that this has not become the nice United States of America.
And this story has even more twists and turns. Today, officials telling us they are investigating a suspicious package at Giffords headquarters here in Tucson. Police shut down several blocks in the area and evacuated the office. A lot of people, as you can imagine, have been going there to pay their respects. Now, police also tell us that there are certain things about that package, about that item, that have them very concerned this evening. Reporting live in Tucson, Karina, Sun 3 TV.
Thank you, Karina. We've been able to find a lot of information about the suspect in custody, 22-year-old Jared Lee Loeffner, and much of what we found has been on social media websites, including these YouTube videos posted by Loeffner. Many are just 3 weeks old and focus on his distrust of the federal government. One video shows a disguised man approaching a U.S. flag, then setting it on fire. Based on his alleged attack today and his posts online, a prominent local psychiatrist tells us it could still be too soon to jump to any conclusions about his mental state.
Based on what we know right now, you're dealing with someone who is disaffected, angry, and a coward. Beyond that, I think it is really, really difficult to come to any definitive conclusions based on Facebook postings or YouTube rantings.
Loeffner's videos show anarchist leanings, including a rejection of the laws in the U.S. Constitution, allegations of government brainwashing and mind control, and terrorism as a political weapon. One quote may be particularly telling. He says, quote, "In conclusion, reading the second United States Constitution, I can't trust the current government because of the ratifications. The government is implying mind control and brainwash on the people by controlling grammar. No, I won't pay debt with a currency that's not backed by gold and silver. No, I won't trust in God," end quote. Here's a high school yearbook photo of Loeffner. He attended Mountain View High and is a Tucson native. Law enforcement had his home, in fact, most of his street, surrounded by crime tape today. No word on what evidence they found or what they're looking for. There's been a massive outpouring of emotion tonight at the state capitol as dozens gathered there for a candlelight vigil. And as 3TV's Jared Dillingham tells us, there were plenty of tears. Jared?
Yeah, Marissa, so sad. The people here at the vigil tonight just seem to be in disbelief, really. Disbelief that something like this can happen in Arizona. The vigil, organized by House Democrats, who during a press conference here tonight said they are saddened, disturbed, and angry.
I'm heartbroken over this today.
Friends and colleagues of Congresswoman Gabrielle Giffords sought comfort in each other's company as they hope for the best.
Let me tell you, knowing Gabby, she's a fighter. And I think that she's going to come through this, and I think she'll come through it stronger than ever.
Some optimism in the crowd, but a lot of anger and frustration, too.
And I really hope that Gabby's family gets to see her grow old.
What began as a small gathering swelled into a candlelight vigil a couple hundred strong. Leaders from different faiths offered prayers.
May their doctors and medical personnel be filled with wisdom and compassion.
Most people here complete strangers, sharing the same heartbreak.
Today, the life of a child was lost, a child who has yet had the opportunity to form political opinions because of hate and violence.
While the motive in the shooting is unknown, the message from organizers tonight, a call to politicians and talk radio hosts to tone down their rhetoric.
Sometimes words that are spoken fall on the ears of people who are unstable and make decisions like the one that this young man did this morning.
And flags here tonight flying at half-staff. Live at the Capitol, Jared Dillingham, 3TV.
A spontaneous vigil was also held tonight on Capitol Hill. As you can see, people held candles and gathered in a circle to honor those who lost their lives today at the hands of that Tucson gunman.